Welcome to the number 3 team in this deep dive series, now on the Golden State Warriors. And this is my hot take of the year. More than leaving the Bucks at 5th in my power rankings, more than having the Suns rated as the better team despite losing to them in the finals. The Warriors being the number 2 rated championship contenders in the West is my call. I'm telling you now, this team is ready. Steph is a ton of people's MVPs this season. Former number 2 overall pick James Wiseman will be coming back with a full year of professional ball now under his belt. They have 2 lottery picks incoming this year to add depth to the roster. Jordan Poole is coming off a spicy summer league and a great preseason. Many fans are voting him most improved player right now in 6 Man of the Year awards when Klay comes back. And oh yeah, Klay fucking Thompson is coming back. The Warriors are the literal answer to the question, is it possible to have too much talent on one roster in the NBA? And they are so high right now because when last seen healthy, they've made it to the finals every single season since 2014. This team is healthy. This team is ready to launch again. Last year, they came in at 39-33, 9th in the Western Conference, just missed the play-in tournament after losing to the Lakers and then losing to the Grizzlies, 14th in the 2020 end of the regular season power rankings. And last year, the Golden State Warriors were really the Golden State Steph Currys. Honestly, the defenses didn't shade their defense towards him. They literally left other players wide open and said, you can beat us. Kevon Looney, Draymond Green, Kelly Oubre Jr., Andrew Wiggins, you want to shoot a 3? Go ahead. Be my guest. Steph Curry is not going to beat us. They would stick the best defender available on him. They would zone up anywhere that he was on the court. And the eventual generational showing incredible scoring output known as the Steph Curry experience just had to come to an end. He did not get enough help. But let's talk about the moves that they made in this offseason, most notably drafting people. They brought in Jonathan Kuminga with the 7th overall pick. Moses Moody with the 14th overall pick. Now they did lose Eric Pascal. Just looking at the trade details, I'm a little frustrated at how they basically gave him up for not a lot. I would expect them to at least get a 1st round pick out of the trade, but they got a 2nd. I'm thinking they sent him away with an under the table handshake agreement with the Jazz, saying, hey, we sent you this guy for nothing. Keep that in mind next time. He did slightly regress though last season and struggled a little bit with injury, and the position that he plays is really full. They have the center, James Wiseman, Kevon Looney, Draymond Green, power forwards, occasionally Andrew Wiggins, Otto Porter, Draymond Green again, Jonathan Kuminga, and Nemanja Bjelica. They just needed the roster spot. They also lost Kelly Oubre. We all like Kelly Oubre. He's nice energy, a good defender, by all reports is a good guy. There were just some really ugly shooting stretches last season, so good riddance when Steph Curry needs spacing. The last of their major losses is Kent Bazemore. Now he's a big pickup for the Lakers. He's the 5th option starter who can give you some 3 and D, and the Warriors are just oozing with shooters and talent. They just didn't need him. Good riddance. And while Oubre and Bazemore brought some good defense to the team, hence the 5th ranked defense they had last season for the Warriors, they did not fit into the offense where Steph Curry's on-court spacing was in the 5th percentile. To combat that, they brought in Nemanja Bjelica. We always call him Nemanja Bjelica. It's, I think, Nemanja Bjelica. Nemanja Bjelica. Supposedly the pronunciation is weird. We'll have to figure that out. Andre Iguodala is back. The GOAT. The clutchest man on the Warriors. And they brought in Otto Porter. Moving on to the point guard ranking where they are going to come in at number 1. No surprise here. Steph Curry is the best, quote-unquote, point guard in the game. Obviously, he led the league in scoring last season, averaging 32 points even a game, 5.5 rebounds, 5.8 assists, 42% three-point shooting, 26.3 PER, and a 9 win share. Dude is just legit. He's a great shooter, of course, great passer. Had a ridiculous usage rate last year at 33.1%, tied him at 4th. And why they're called the Golden State Steph Currys last season is they were 12 points per 100 possessions worse when Steph was on the floor. They only had a 104.4 offensive rating without him, which would have made them 2nd worst in the league. Essentially, when he's on the court, they ball out. And when he's off the court, the Warriors just struggle to survive, kind of like the LeBron James has to deal with. Coming into this offseason, he's currently 5th in MVP odds behind Luka, KD, Joel Embiid, and Giannis. His 3-point records are probably never going to be touched, just like the John Stockton assist record, except for Steph Curry. It's the most important stat. It's scoring. I know he's going to break Ray Allen's 3-point record this upcoming season. Ray Allen has 2,973. Steph is at 2,832, so he only has 142 to go. Given that he averages about 300 to 400 a year, he's going to make that halfway through this regular season. And I know he's the greatest shooter to have ever been born, can shoot from distance, revolutionize the NBA. My favorite mentality Steph has is when he drives and uses his incredible touch and handle around the rim, which only works to better open up his 3-point shot. Yes, he's the greatest shooter ever, but the dude has incredible touch. The way he can just put spin on the ball and make it fall while kissing it high off the glass is incredible. Also, his defense improved. No longer can he run the whoever offense like LeBron did in the 3-1 finals. He's now a decent defender. I'm supremely impressed with his lower body work. He came into the league with no muscle and tiny ankles, and right now he has a huge, sturdy lower body. And I bet you didn't notice, but he's 33 years old, going to be 34 this upcoming season. Luckily, his game isn't predicated on athleticism, but he has battled various injuries through his whole career, so his durability, how long he's going to last in the league is a question mark. Mostly analytic nerds have Steph Curry as the best player in the game because of his offensive insanity. But the league has caught up to Steph. Defenses have adjusted and offenses had copied. And while Steph is still incredible, he doesn't have the same statistical disparity that his MVP years did. And I still have question marks, even though the dude has been in the league for so long and putting in buckets. I'm still unsure about his clutch gene. I can never live down how poorly he performs in the playoffs, especially when he's in the finals game 7. There's a wild stat out there. Every single active MVP except Steph Curry has hit a buzzer beater to win the game. Technically, his infamous OKC shot from practically half court left 0.5 seconds left. I know it's nitpicking, but even LeBron, not a closer James, has a few buzzer beaters that Steph Curry just doesn't have. And I'd move on to their point guard 2 and point guard 3 positions, but they don't have any. There's literally nobody on this roster to ball handle on the bench. Even Draymond Green is the official point guard for this team, so there's a significant lack of ball handling. Moving on to the wing players, where they're going to come in at 10th. Normally, I'd have Jordan Poole here, but I just want to talk about Klay Thompson. The shooting guard Klay Thompson is coming back. When last seen, he was an underrated player, top 10 defender, top 5 shooter in history, 42% career 3-point shooter, hottest shooter the league has ever seen, scoring 37 points in 1 quarter, 60 points in 3 quarters, the ultimate teammate to Steph Curry and Kevin Durant. He suffered the 2 worst injuries, though, any NBA player can have back-to-back, the Achilles and the ACL. It's like what John Wall had, but twice as bad. It's going to be tough for him to come back. He hasn't seen a game since June 13th, 2019, 857 days from today, and it will be likely closer to 950 by the time Klay actually steps onto the court. And so I have his ranking really high from his previous years in 2019 at 10th. It's definitely going to be dropping the second he steps on the court, whatever combination of talent he and Jordan Poole can give you. Just what does Klay Thompson have left? He's a few years older now. He's not going to be the same Klay, and that's fine. The Warriors don't need Klay Thompson to be the exact same Klay Thompson. Obviously, he's going to need some time to get back to form. His defense will probably be the most impacted, making other players on the team needing to step up. Like Steph Curry, though, he relies on a lot of off-ball movement for his shot. His offense can probably come back to pre-injury form. His defense, though, not so much. A lot of people think his defense is only going to slightly fall off. I'm going to expect it to crater. That said, they do have Andrew Wiggins now and a bench full of young guns who can take up that primary and secondary defender roles. Hopefully it won't be too bad and everything he offers you offensively will more than compensate. He will struggle versus quicker guards these days, but I don't give a fuck. I am so hyped to see Klay Thompson back. The NBA is always better when the Splash Brothers are balling out together on the same court. Moving on to the small forward ranking, where they're going to come in at 17th with Andrew Wiggins. And let's just get this out of the way. He got the vaccine. This isn't a political show. Say what you will about whatever side you're on. I'm just happy he's going to be able to play next season. And he's a really tough player to grade. He's a really streaky guy who plays his best when he's a 3rd or 4th option on the team. But last year he had a career year. 38% from the 3-point line, best of his career. 47.7% from the field, best of his career. 52.9% 2-point percentage. True shooting, 56.8%, best of his career. Just his most efficient season. And while he wasn't putting up his gaudy 20 points per game plus every single night, he was so much more efficient and playing much better basketball. Defensively, he had one of his best years. Had 111 defensive rating, one of his best seasons. 70 blocks in 71 games played, giving you almost 1 a night. He played 71 games out of 72, something the Warriors players never seem to do. Stay healthy. He can drive against poor closeouts. He's still a decent finisher, 67.7% rim field goal percentage, placing him 31st in the league, and he actually provided effort on defense last year, something he doesn't do very often. And he had a defensive All-NBA team vote. He had a plus 0.5 defensive Raptor, plus 1.25 defensive LeBron, and plus 0.5 defensive EPM. All told, he's a slightly above average defender, not a negative like he's been for so many seasons. And with this scoring efficiency of last season, that'll work. Basically, keep doing what you're doing, Andrew. 76% of his threes last year were catch and shoot, and instead of the more difficult off-dribble threes he was taking, it led to a better shooting percentage. He ran with the twos really well, providing a spark for this bench unit. He will have a reduced role. I expect Jordan Poole, though, to get the number 2 scoring option this upcoming season. And when James Wiseman and Klay Thompson come back, Wiggins may go down to the 4th option on the team. The only question is, can he keep up what he did last year? Efficiency. He's still only 26 years old, which is wild. It feels like he's been a bust in this league for so many years. Moving on to Draymond Green, the 7th ranked power forward in the NBA. This dude is just, he's hilarious. He's Mr. Triple Single. But as we saw in the Olympics, his contributions to winning basketball go far beyond simple box score counting numbers. We've all seen the stat where it's like only 4 players have 3 championships and 2 gold medals. It's Michael Jordan, fucking Kareem or some other people, just like the best of the best, cream of the crop. And he had an 8.9 assists per game last year, tied for 3rd place with Chris Paul. He's their point guard. That's all there is to it. He's great also in the pick and roll, great as the roll man, great as the ball handler. He has that chemistry with Steph. They're basically a single mind, knowing exactly where Steph's going to go when he's running off screens, and Dre dimes him with a pass to a shot Steph Curry usually makes. He's still a decent defender, not quite as quick and as strong as he was in his Defensive Player of the Year days, but he's still a strong guy and an elite defender at almost every position, and he still was on the all-defensive first team last season. So the fall-off went from best defender in history to one of the better defenders in the NBA. The issue with Draymond, though, lies in that he doesn't and can't shoot. First year of the dynasty, he was able to shoot, and then he's just been living off that hype ever since. I don't think his shooting is ever going to go above 30% from 3, let alone anything near the league average of 37%. At times, he's almost unplayable, not able to shoot the 3 unless he's among the 5-out rotation, which is why the Warriors have struggled so much over the past few seasons. They just haven't had that floor spacing. Also, I know he runs the offense, but he's not very good of a ball handler. I hate it when he grabs that rebound and tries to go 94 feet on the fast break trying to be a one-man show, but apparently so did Kevin Durant. Draymond Green is so passionate, he just loves the game, and while his foot speed has slowed down a bit, and he hasn't averaged double digits in points since 2018, he's still probably the 2nd most important player to this entire offensive system. It's arguable that he's as important to Steph Curry. What he's able to do as a ball handler, as a point center, as a small ball 5, and as a possible stretch 5 every now and then is just invaluable to the system that they run here. Moving on to the center position, where they're going to come in at 14th, and it's a little higher than you'd expect, but I'm really in on James Wiseman. Similar to Klay Thompson, he's going to be coming in a little later in the season. He says he's 50 to 60% healthy right now. No issue. The regular season doesn't matter in the NBA. Get to the playoffs, avoid the play-in tournament, and you're good. Home court is nice, but a squad of healthy, energized players is better, a la the LA Clippers last season. Last year, he did only play 39 games. He had some good games. He had some rough games, as to be expected from a rookie who played 3 games in college. He didn't shoot great last year from 3, 31.6%, but he only shot 12 of 38, super low volume, and the shot looks good. So, hey, that's still a better stretch 5 than DeAndre Ayton's 20% average or Draymond Green's 27% last season, so he's still technically a better shooter than they are. He was really bad from mid last year, 31%, landing him in the 48th percentile. He had some foul issues, 3.1 fouls a game, and he was playing less than 2/4 of minutes. He had a 109 defensive rating, 0.3 steals, and 0.9 blocks a game. Just not great. People right now are asking, is he more JaVale McGee or Anthony Davis? But he's a big dude. There's not a lot of real 7-footers in the game. There are endless streams of 6'9" undersized tweener centers, but 7-foot guys who have touch, not that many. And the dude is 20 years old. He has the athletics. He has the tangibles you need for a 5. He just needs to get stronger and better. Some Warriors fans are having serious buyer's remorse, and while LaMelo and Halliburton would have been nice here, the past is the past. We can only live in the present. He does have injury concerns. He's a big man. I can't help but be worried when he has to sit out a season, but I'm still really high on James Wiseman, hence his 14th ranking. Last year was brutal on rookies. No training camps, barely a preseason, just thrown right into the fire. Some survived, many struggled. Just so much was going against him, being suspended in college and playing a total of 3 games, coming in with sky-high expectations, a COVID no training camp preseason type schedule, being drafted to the Warriors, such a complicated offense that doesn't utilize his strengths specifically, being a big whose game is slower to develop than guard and wing players, being a big in today's NBA that's either Joel Embiid or bust for the most part, being on a small ball roster who doesn't utilize bigs as much as other players, trying to develop his game on a team that's trying to win the championship. And the way health and roster construction broke down last year, he practically never played with 2 credible shooters, let alone 4 other people who can shoot the 3, absolutely destroying spacing. Everybody forgets that Jordan Poole had a really bad rookie year. Look at him now. The dude still has the potential to be a walking double-double, rim-protecting, stretch 5, 7-foot big man who can jump out of the gym. What's not to like about this prospect? But moving on to the center two with Kevon Looney, about as reliable and average of a backup big man as you can get. He plays defense, he screens and rolls, he fights for rebounds, about all you can ask for. He's a little undersized 6'9", but has a freakish 7'4" wingspan, and he's still only 25. He's a young guy who hasn't even come close to entering his prime yet. It just feels like he's been in the league for so many years. He has struggled a little bit with injury, missed 56 games the last 2 years, some durability concerns, but what else is new to this injury-riddled championship squad? Basically, he's the ultimate backup center and is going to start while James Wiseman comes back and gets his sea legs under him, but of course, he doesn't have the same ceiling. He is decent at switching on defense, a good defender, good rebounder, really wide shoulders so he can body you up in the paint, and he's a great screener that fully absorbed the Golden State offense. And lastly, their free agent signing Nemanja Bjelica. He can shoot from deep. He's like a poor man's Nikola Jokic. He shoots the three, play makes a little bit, and can't defend. But he's going to be the Warriors' stretch five since Draymond Green forgot how to shoot, and that's really a godsend because they haven't had a stretch five in years. He is a career 38.7% three-point shooter, so that 32% he had last year, we'll just call that an anomaly. He played for the Heat, he played for the Kings, and he never really knew his role. I expect him to get much more comfortable in the Golden State offense. And given the openness of shots I expect him to get playing alongside Steph, Jordan Poole, Klay Thompson, I expect that his three-pointer reverts to the norm. I thought it was cheeks when he came over here. I was like, Nemanja Bjelica, this dude stinks, but he has some real playmaking ability. Had 5.6 assists per 100 possessions last year. Draymond Green was impressed. And what else could the Warriors want? A floor spacing big man who has a little passing. He scored 1.257 points per spot-up possession last year, 93rd percentile and 7th out of 133 players with 150 spot-up three-pointers, so he's going to be able to catch and shoot the three at will. Defense will be an issue, no doubt, but he's incredible value for somebody signed on the veteran minimum, and from the tape I've seen, most teams probably weren't using him correctly, which I have no doubt the Warriors will be able to find a spot for a guy who can shoot. Moving on to the bench where they came in at 23rd last year, but it's definitely going to go up because they have none other than Jordan Poole here, who is a savage in the preseason. Averaged 21.8 points a game on 50, 36, 87 shooting in the preseason. That'll work. He's just a good scorer. He learned so well from being teammates with Steph and Klay to shoot from range, have a quick trigger, move without the ball. He just turned himself into a sharpshooter who can run off endless screens. He has a mean step back, an incredible first step, and his playmaking is evolving too. Most improved player alert, and he's still super young, only 22 years old. These Warriors are stacked. But last year he averaged 1.56 points per possession when he was a cutter. Low volume, but really high stats in the 74th percentile when he was moving off screens. Had a steady improvement, 29.9% catch and shoot percentage in his rookie year, improved to 37.8 last season. Shot 67% of the rim in the 84th percentile. And while he's not an elite three-point shooter, 20% his rookie season, 35% in last year, there is noticeable improvement. The form looks good, and he's been Steph Curry-esque in this preseason. He is more of a combo guard, but he does put out some decent assists. Had 2 per game this last season, which if you put up to per 36 jumps to 3.7, and he conceivably can fill the Steph Curry role off the bench as the quote-unquote point guard, but not really a point guard too. He's also a little undersized when he's on defense, 6'4", but these guys are no longer the Splash Brothers. They're building a Splash family. Jordan Poole learned some incredible shooting footwork, gets the shot off so quick while he runs around screens. He has an incredible work ethic and really put in work the last 2 seasons that you can see. We as fans, though, do need to cool it a little bit. He's still just a third-year player. I've seen some blasphemy about Jordan Poole starting over Klay Thompson even after Klay comes back from injury. I think y'all forgot how elite Klay Thompson is. Every article I see says something along the lines of blah, blah, blah. Jordan Poole, breakout star, superstar, answer to all the Warriors' questions and blessings. Best player to lace up shoes on an NBA court. Jordan Poole is amazing. Relax. Moving on to Jonathan Kuminga, and he had no business falling to 7th in the draft. Before the G League season, he was considered a better prospect than Jalen Green. He is going to have to earn his minutes though, being an effort player. He just cannot shoot. The stroke looks good, the mechanics are solid, the ball just doesn't go in. His role will probably be a screen setting, high effort, big wing, and primary defender. But he's a super raw player, 24.6% from 3 in the G League Ignite. He was supposed to be part of the Big 5 in the draft. Cade Cunningham, Jalen Green, Evan Mobley, Jalen Suggs, Jonathan Kuminga. And I was all in on Barnes, so I had no problem with him going higher than Kuminga, but the potential versus like a Josh Giddey is no contest. It doesn't mean they're going to be better players, but physical potential plus age, Jonathan Kuminga was probably the 4th highest potential player in the draft. I'm just not sure what his development path is. He's built like a truck, 6'7", 225 pounds. all the athletics in the world. He could be an elite wing player, a slasher. He could be a stretch 4 and a small ball 5. The dude is like Klay, just waiting to be molded. At 18 years old, he's not going to hit his prime for another 10 years. There's no end to players who still grow an inch or two after coming into the league, so who knows how tall he's going to get. And the fact that his Twitter nickname is the Coom Bucket is just awful enough to love. My blurb for him is Jonathan Kuminga is a defender who can slash. He has no finishing skills or creativity around the hoop, no tricks in his bag to get to a spot. His best move is to get into the post, try to do something, fail, and kick it back out or take a tough shot. Most of his points will come from effort plays and cuts. He doesn't box out, but is an active rebound seeker, which is typical of today's NBA players. He's a very active defender with great lateral quickness, but is always getting beat on the first step so that he's constantly playing catch up on ball. But he has a natural talent to get back in the play. He has some nice help and is more NBA ready than most prospects because of his size and activity. He is a great vertical, and his shot stroke looks really good despite the poor percentages. Moving on to Moses Moody, who was stolen by the Warriors at pick number 14. I had him at the number 9 prospect on my big board, and he might actually get more minutes this season than Kuminga does because he can shoot the ball. And we did only shoot 36% from 3 at Arkansas in college, and he mostly operates from the corner 3 to basically cutting to the basket and doesn't provide you much more on offense, but analysts were calling him 3 and D. The thing is, his on-ball D is pretty bad. He's a really good help defender though. And while he was incredible in the summer league, he wasn't great in all the preseason games. Kind of showed why he was taken 14th. He's going to make rookie mistakes, but he does have that great 7'1" wingspan. My blurb for him is Moody is a unique player. He has a sweet looking 3-stroke when he's open and is developing a drive and pull up mid that can be lethal in the next level. He shoots his free throws at a full 45-degree angle away from the hoop, but shoots at such a good clip that you don't want to mess it up. He's also the slowest player I've ever watched, not mentally. He plays in slow motion, it feels like. He has a slow jump shot that he's going to need to speed up in the big leagues. He catches, dips, then elevates, while most catch and shoot marksmen are already in their dip ready to catch the pass. He doesn't have much quickness at all, but he does have a clever first step and drew fouls on the other teams frequently. His only move to generate space right now, though, is a pump fake. He has a loose dribble that he frequently mishandles, doesn't have a post game, doesn't move off ball very well, and frequently spends entire possessions spotted up in the corner. He'll make some great passes sometimes, and other times it's going to be too late on the read, like the game was moving too fast for him. He kicks his feet out almost every jump shot to draw a foul, which may muck up his shooting form. He doesn't get many offensive rebounds because of a quote-unquote high motor. Like some idiotic scouts were saying, he mostly hovers around baskets when a shot goes up and will luck his way into the occasional loose ball. He's a professional, long-armed shot maker. He's an on-ball defensive liability with his supreme lack of lateral speed. He's too slow to guard other guards, not strong enough to guard big men. His length bails him out most possessions in the college level, but he's incredibly smart and a willing help defender, frequently making the right rotation and being in the right spot. Just his overall lack of quickness doesn't help making great defensive plays consistently. He's a barely rebounding guard who doesn't box out, and even if he has a position, can get outworked for the board. He's a high floor guy who can come in, make buckets, and while being a liability on defense, is incredibly intelligent at where he needs to be. Once he makes up his mind though, being charging from the hoop, going for a block, trying to take a charge, there's no reaction time that he has to change his decision. Moving on to Andre Iguodala, who looks good. He's a guy who always took care of himself, so I'm not surprised by that. Now, he's not a $15 million a year guy like the Heat thought he was, but he's still able to contribute to a roster at age 37. And while it's nice to have him back, what is he going to be? What is his role? Is he going to be a zero playing time assistant coach kind of guy, Udonis Haslem, or is he going to be running the point for them, being the primary ball handler for their second unit because they are lacking in that position? His shooting has fallen, but he can play defense still and make good passes. He never became that elite generational player that we all thought he could be on the Sixers, but damn has he had one hell of a career capped off with a finals MVP. He's kind of a Draymond Green player though at this point in his career. He'll stuff the stat sheet, rebounds, assists, blocks, steals, effort plays, and less so scoring. But he's still the most clutch player on the Warriors, and if the fate of the world was on the line, I'd have Andre Iguodala take the final shot over Steph Curry. Moving on to Otto Porter, who was a great pickup for them as we've seen in the preseason. He is automatic from the corner 3, shoots 47% from the corner in the 84th percentile. Now he doesn't have the athletics anymore from all the injuries. He has been brutalized by injuries, but he is fitting in really well here, and unlike Kelly Oubre, he can shoot. What he brings to the team is 3 things: spacing, spacing, and spacing. Now he has only played 42 games in the last 2 seasons because of injury, which has really slowed him down. A lot of times it looks like he's moving in slow motion, but he does have some nice off-ball movement. If he can just have some semblance of a healthy year, he's going to be able to produce for this team, and thankfully he's not going to be asked to do too much. Come in for maybe 10 to 15 minutes off the bench, give you a couple buckets, and then that's his night. Moving on to Damian Lee, who's another bench shooter. He's looked really solid in the preseason, 40% from the three. He might be here because of nepotism being Steph's brother-in-law, but damn, can he shoot the ball, and he's at the very least good depth on a very affordable contract. Lastly is Juan Toscano Anderson, my favorite player on the Warriors. This dude is so much fun to watch. I love his energy. He has so much hustle. The dude got a concussion diving for a loose ball over the scorer's table. I mean, if that isn't savage, I don't know what is. But the Warriors liked him too, signing into a multi-year deal in the middle of the season last year just to lock him up. But as for Toscano, he's a good plus defender. He's great at help D. His defensive Raptor was plus 2.2, defensive LeBron plus 1.76, defensive BPM plus 2.2, and defensive EPM plus 1.5. Just across the board, a plus defender. He guards 1 through 5, can switch any position, and in the Suns game alone, he would guard Chris Paul, then Devin Booker, then DeAndre Ayton. He's also a nice passer and has unexpectedly good vision. He's a little Draymond-ish, plays defense across all positions, can switch, is a help defender, and can ball handle a little bit. He even shot better than Draymond, 40.1% from the three last year. That'll work. It's not very reliable though. He's a bad free throw shooter, and that slow shot form makes you think that it's not going to be recreatable this season. He had a really low volume as well, 37 of 92, but still 40% is 40%. That'll work. He's also a good roll man, has a field goal rim percentage of 76% in the 90th percentile. He was a small ball 5 part 2 whenever Draymond Green would go to the bench. The biggest issues of baby Draymond is that his shooting is still a question mark, and he has a very slender frame, but he's a jack of all trades, master of none, except the fact that he hustles his ass off. Now, if I remember correctly, there's one more roster spot left and one more two-way spot available for the Warriors after all their cuts. They cut Avery Bradley, Michael Mulder, Jordan Bell, Langston Galloway, Gary Payton Jr. They just said, everybody go home, we don't need you, except Chris Chiozza. For whatever reason, they wanted to keep the super short point guard. He's listed at 5'11". I don't even think he's that tall. He had a really bad year in Brooklyn last season, but I think that he's a decent point guard, number 3 for the team. You know, kind of a break glass in case of emergency point guard. Moving on to the coach and culture ranking, where they're going to come in at 3rd. And I am all in on this Warriors team, who not too long ago were laughing stocks of the league. They had the similar recognition of the awful Sacramento Kings. And you'll notice that some teams are playing hardball with their homegrown talent, asking for pay cuts and not wanting to go into the luxury tax. I know some people have been clamoring for the Warriors to trade Wiseman, Kuminga, Moody, and Wiggins for a superstar, but unless Luka Doncic or Jason Tatum becomes available, then why? I trust in Bob Myers' vision. I believe in what this guy does, and they still have their mid-level exception available when the buyout market becomes competitive late in the season. And while I'm a huge fan of Steve Kerr and the offensive system they have, they just need to simplify the offense a little bit and roles for the rookies. Stop trying to push them into the deep end and seeing if they swim, but give them a little bit more help along the way. James Wiseman showed that last year. If you just say good luck to the young guys, they're going to struggle, and you're trying to compete for a championship. Bringing the rookies along for the ride is the best chance of success. I also am really a big fan of Joe Lacob and the other owner, Peter Guber. They're paying the highest luxury tax bill of any team by $90 million this year. They're all in, and I love to see when ownership says, fuck the money, fuck the luxury tax, we're just going to go in. We want to win the championship. Moving on to the season projections, where they're projected to win 48.5 games because Klay Thompson is coming back later. James Wiseman is coming back later. There's so many question marks, but their championship odds are 10-1, pretty good. And I'm just saying, when Klay Thompson comes back, a Steph Curry, Jordan Poole, Klay Thompson, Draymond Green, James Wiseman lineup looks lethal. And how wild is it that the Golden State Warriors basically have a AAA team and a Major League team playing at the same time? Currently, they could run a Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Andrew Wiggins, Draymond Green, Kevon Looney lineup, and then off the bench, Jordan Poole, Jonathan Kuminga, Moses Moody, and James Wiseman. Like, they're the only team in the NBA that's competing for a title and has the pieces for their future and has all their draft picks. Like, it's insanity how good this front office has been. There's a lot of doubters of this team, though, and I think y'all must have forgot. 538's Raptor ratings have them coming in as the 11th seed this season and missing the playoffs, which is why I always say analytics are stupid. There's a time and a place for them, but if analytics are going to tell you that Duncan Robinson is the best defender in the league and Paul Pierce was the best player in the NBA in 2011 because of BPM, you can go shove those analytics where you think. Now, I know there's going to be a ton of question marks for this team. Can Steph keep it up without his body breaking down on him? Is Jordan Poole legit? What can Klay Thompson give you? Can Andrew Wiggins maintain his efficiency and consistency? Will Draymond Green ever learn to shoot the ball again? What is James Wiseman? How good are Moses Moody and Jonathan Kuminga? But even if half of these questions fall into the plus side, the Warriors are going to be a menace yet again. And all season, you're going to have rumors of Golden State Warriors trade ideas, draft logic. Oh, maybe we should trade away this. But I'm on board with the front office here. I like their plan. Are you really going to give up James Wiseman, Jonathan Kuminga, Moses Moody, just the next 15 years of their core players for a Pascal Siakam or a Miles Turner? Get the fuck out of here with your trash takes. Maybe I'd trade all that shit for Kevin Durant, but they already did that once. And I just don't know how to put it better. The spacing is going to be great on this team. Last year, just having Steph Curry alone, the spacing was still difficult and Steph Curry put up numbers. Now with a Steph Curry, Jordan Poole, Andrew Wiggins, Draymond Green, Kevon Looney, the other team is going to struggle. Then you flip Kevon Looney for Nemanja Bjelica, add another shooter. Move Draymond Green to the 5 and bring on Otto Porter, Damian Lee, Juan Toscano Anderson, and that's just 3 more shooters, not to mention Klay Thompson. The Warriors are going to be shooting about 900 threes a game this season, and I'm just so in on this team, which is why they're going to be coming in at 3rd. But that's going to be it for the Golden State Warriors. Let me know what you think, what you agree with, what you disagree with, and I'll catch you in the next one where we unveil the number 2 team.